Good morning. It is just after 10:30 a.m. It is Sunday, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, a weekly live stream where every week we look at some Ruby on Rails coding, and we're building an application together. We're building an application where we have event ticketing and registrations. And we're in the early stages of it in previous streams, which you can view on the YouTube channel. There you can see us build kind of a dummy application where you could do stuff with Twitch channels and YouTube channels and build little websites for them. Loads of Rails stuff in there. Take a look if you are interested. But today we have basically no follow-up. So then we can just get straight into it. I haven't done very much on Sunday Club stuff during the week. So I think we're basically picking things up where we left off. And the first thing we're going to do is try and remember where we left off. So let's get straight into it. Access control is the name of today's and last week's game, I think. And what do we mean by that? We mean, can you access this page or not? Bearing in mind whether you are signed up as a user, like are you an admin as a user, and kind of making that decision as to whether you can see what we want you to see. So we introduced this idea of having organizations in the application, because the events for which you can buy tickets or register are going to be owned by organizations. And we also introduced this idea of having an organization membership. That is the at the moment, fairly simplistic join between a user and an organization. So if a user has an organization membership for an organization, they can view events for that organization. And that is pretty much where we got to. I am seeing some leftover characters lying around here. So I'm assuming that we were just sketching some stuff out at the end of last week. What have we got here? We have got authenticate user. This was from Devise, I think. That's, hey, we need to have a user. Set organization. Oh, was this all like me just sketching out how right, okay. I have a memory that at the end of last week, I basically started to sketch something out and was like, right, this is one way we could do it. And then just pushed it all the way through. And I think we got that working. So I think the reason that the browser, when you go to admin events, which is where we want to see all of the events for our organization, you now get bumped to the sign in, to the login screen. I think that is because of this. I think this is working. So and what we're saying is, well, this organization is the current user able to admin, whatever that may mean. And there was a policy for that here, and admin basically meant where an organization membership exists for that user and that organization. Okay, so let's get some tests up and running for this. So then we can just change the implementation when we need to, because all we really care about is, at the moment we're saying organization memberships are the thing that control access control. Let's wrap some tests around that. And then if we can then change one of two things. We can then change the implementation of how we care about that. So at the moment, there's just like a one single query here, like does this record exist? But if we change that, maybe the test could stay the same, because maybe all we really care about is the presence of that. And also we might change the rules. That might no longer be the case in the future. So our tests are the thing that's going to help us change that really quickly. So do we have anything in this? What is this branch? Okay, so the branch is add the Pundit gem. I'll move this over. I'm hoping this is big enough to read on the stream. I think it probably depends on your screen size. And let me just check the screen health, because the stream health, because we've had a bunch of problems with this over the last few weeks. Everything seems fine. Okay, cool. So add Pundit gem, add Pundit to application controller. So these are just not written up commits. Add admin namespace and initial something. And initial, oh, okay, they are written up. Initial events controller. You know, it's good when the first line of the commit description is, we aren't quite doing things in an ideal order, as we don't actually have the concept of events or much of anything else. Great, okay. Yep, fine, okay. And then this is a whip one, which is, oh, hang on, my headphones have just turned off for some reason. I don't know if you can hear the music suddenly bursting out of my MacBook speakers. Hang on a second. I think everything has gone weird. because I think Sound Siphon has just freaked out, which it has done in the past. So let me just see if I can fix that really quickly. The music seems to have stopped coming out of here as well. Let's turn that on. Oh, okay. I think we've lost the background music. I use an app for Sound Siphon called Sound Siphon for that purpose, and I think it's doing a bunch of stuff in macOS internals, and occasionally just fully decides it's not into the idea anymore. I think it doesn't like my Bluetooth headphones either as an output. Okay, so I don't think that we're hearing or seeing any music come out. That's okay. We'll just do this without. That's fine. And maybe you are seeing music or hearing music, but the thing's just not, the little meter's not going up and down. Okay, cool. So events, controller specs. We do have something in here. So we do have some tests. Where did we get to with this? So as an admin, right? Okay, so there was no. We talked about whether we would use factories or something like that to get here. Okay, so we did actually add tests for this. So as an admin, as a non, I've got. Sorry, I had to turn that music off. It just burst into my ears. Okay. So as an admin, receive a successful response. Fine. And then as a non-logged in user, redirects to a sign-in page. So there's somewhere else where it's like as a non-admin, you should also go presumably somewhere else. We don't have a place for you yet, but we can make that up. Okay. We can go back to root for now. What does happen there? So let's decide what happens there in the test. Okay, so we actually have tests. That's further than I thought we were going to go. So what we can do now is let's take a look at implementing FactoryBot as well, because I think we can then bump the installation of the gems to the front of this PR, and then kind of make and then get all this tidied up. Because then, why was there no path for this, or was it that we couldn't use paths in request because I'm new to request specs as opposed to controller specs? So we're not using a path here, we're actually specifying the exact URL. That's something for us to look into as well. If anyone uses request specs on a regular basis, is it common to use Rails paths in here? I have no idea about that stuff, so we can go find that out as well. Right, let's get all of this done, and then what is this doing in here? Right, so that's obviously needed for the tests to run. So let's get that committed. Actually, we can just write that commit straight up. So what? One thing that has happened this week is I have switched from using terminal to using iTerm, which I've never used before. And there's a couple of things that I'm really liking, a couple of things I'm not used to yet. But one of the reason that I moved genuinely is for one single feature, which is that you can resize the font, the type in iTerm, and it won't change the size of the window. And that's all I've ever wanted from terminal. That's just like the one feature. And I'm sure maybe it's possible in terminal. I Googled around and couldn't find anything, and it's available here. So you can just make the font go up and down, and it doesn't move the window, which is amazing. Has some other stuff I don't like, but you can configure so much of it that even the things you don't like, you can configure back. You just have to go and find in the maze of all of the config stuff. So if you haven't checked out iTerm, it's a pretty cool project. It's open source, I think, and you can donate to it rather than it's not like a charged model. So go take a look at that. There are a few others. Just one feature makes a big difference. Okay, so we want to let's just commit this. Here, so we're gonna say add. Oh, it's something. I can't remember what it is now. Like an add default. To test. This. Sorry. Oops. This config setting needs to be set for request specs. No specific reason for choosing. Okay, it's really Sunday morning. I haven't finished enough of my coffee to for choosing the value. It's arbitrary. So why am I mentioning that part? Sometimes in configs, especially like Rails configs. So here host is like example.com. I've had things where like things like this, things in the config that maybe have a subdomain, or that there's some special thing that needs to be very specific, and then it's not mentioned in anywhere really, either in the comment around the config or in the commit messages. And someone changes the value for some other valid reason, and then it breaks another thing. And it is helpful if you're. I find the non-specific thing just as useful as the specific thing. So you're saying there's no reason I'm choosing this. You're just confirming to the person in a year's time reading it. It's like you don't need to worry. You're just closing off all levels of ambiguity when they might brush over your commit message. I personally find that stuff helpful. I don't know if anyone else does, but I always wonder if I was being clever, which is very rarely the case in my case. But I think actually, yeah, not just being clever, but like did I forget to write down why the value is as important as the thing being set or whatever it is? So that's done. Let's do this one as well. I know we're doing more Git stuff in the streams this time, but I don't care because it got so out of usable last time that I just ended up not committing anything, and it never went into the repo. So yeah, I did say right at the start of this project we're going to do more boring stuff, so we're going to do this as well. This is add rspec request spec helpers to. All right, let's help. I don't even know how helpful that is, but you get the gist. There's not a lot going on. Not a lot to say about that. Oh, they're integrations helper. Oh, okay. Hang on. Sorry. Yeah, wrong one. Add rspec integrations spec helpers. Using. Can't actually remember from last week. See, this is even then you got to do commits when you do the code. I can't remember what exactly cropped up where we needed these. I think we needed them to literally be like type colon request. I think we needed that. We're using these in the request specs. I'm actually not sure that's true. So I don't think you need any context there. I think that's going to be fine. It's just a thing that we're adding. Wait, what just happened there? Oh, it was just taking its time. Thought I hadn't committed them. Cool. Okay, so then we have base controller. Then we're onto the actual feature itself. Okay, great. So then we've got the 2 commits in there. So we can go and get this tidied up. Right, actually, let's get FactoryBot up and running then, shall we? Because that's what we had spoken about, my desire to one day use fixtures and mini test. But today is not that day. So let's get this up and running. We did this on the previous project as well, so we're not going to go into any of the details of this. There's stuff about all of the setup for all of these in previous streams, all the way back in the channel. Oh, I forgot to look. Are we a year into this channel? I genuinely was going to look at that the other day. I was thinking about it. I was chatting to someone about it, and I was like, oh, I think I've been doing this for more than a year. Right, what am I doing? I want to add the gem file. Okay. I'm just going to stick this at the bottom as well. Oh, it is slightly weird with no music. I don't like it. I wish. Let me try and quit. Trouble, the sound siphon is like impossible to disable. Like it's one of those things that runs in the background and never. Yeah, I think it's just because it's like so low level. It's always there, even if they don't put the thing on the screen. You're like, it's doing something back there. I know what it's doing. Cool. So the gem is there. Some sort of install scripts. Data file configure your test suite. Okay, config include FactoryBot syntax methods. What does that do? Oh, actually, in your test suite, then all FactoryBot methods will need to be prefaced with FactoryBot. I don't know if other people do this. I do preface or preface. I do preface all of my FactoryBot methods with FactoryBot. Yeah, I wonder how many people do that. So build, create, attributes for build stubs don't have to have FactoryBot dot in front of them. I don't think I've ever worked on a code base that doesn't have that. I find this a bit less explicit, and I know how verbose it is to put FactoryBot dot in front of everything, and it is a lot of visual noise in the test file. But I'm just aware that you could so easily have a method called create that someone's stuck in the test file or like mixed in some other way. I think I like the explicitness of saying FactoryBot dot everywhere. Just looking at these, yeah, I actually do quite like this. I think I'm going to leave that out. So I think in that case we might be done. And we can go define some factories. Let's commit because we're being super diligent. So let's do this and this. And write R. Add FactoryBot gem. I don't know if we need much context here. We're adding a FactoryBot gem because we want factories in our tests. I think maybe we could mention what we've just said about not adding these. Maybe that's helpful. Note that we're not adding the FactoryBot. We've made the early decision that the explicit use of has value. Okay, so we're explaining what, again, that's actually explaining why we're not doing something again. I can imagine that a lot of people wouldn't care about that one. Fair enough. Let's keep going. Get some factories up and running. So where do we plonk those these days? They go in spec. Factories. And you can do the factory for the organization. And we can do user. And we can do organization membership. We can go nuts. I think there was a user one in the example here, wasn't there? Yeah, okay, cool. Just grabbing the example one. So factory user, do first name. I don't even think we had first name and last name. I think we had email, which is usually a sequence. Is that a good idea? I've done it as a sequence in the past, which was basically a quick way of not having to bother doing it differently all the time. Best practices. It is recommended that you have one factory for each class that provides the simplest set of attributes necessary to create an instance of that class. If you're creating active record objects, I'm skipping over. Static attributes without a block no longer available. Yep, using factory. Skipping over. more skipping over. I'm looking for the sequence stuff. Transient attributes within the factory definition, not something. Yeah, okay. Fine, but that's not what I'm looking for with associations. Might got a bit fast there. Overriding attributes. Yep. Okay, this is stuff I should probably read, actually. It's been a long time since I've read any of that. I wonder if my usage of this is just kind of like habit now, not because I'm doing the right thing. Unique values in a specific format email addresses can be generated. Sequences are defined using sequence. Generate sequences can be done. Email, same as email, generate email. So wait, what does generate do versus? Oh, okay. So if it's defined on here, okay. So I think we can do this one. And then admin we haven't got. I think that's all we had. Did we need a password as well? I think we might have done, or is that automatically generated? Does the user model tell us that? No, I think that's a device thing. I think we might need a password though. So can we try in our test to swap out our user? So let's go back to our terminal. Nope, it's not terminal. Using item now. Let's go back to item. And we can say that we want to run this test. So we have user sign in user. Where is user from? Let user here. Okay, great. So let's comment that line out and create a new one. This is going to be FactoryBot.create user. And we don't actually care what his email address. We do care that he is confirmed that, so we can come back and add that as a trait in a second. So let's now try and run this test. And I think FactoryBot might say no. Factory not registered user. Do we have to tell FactoryBot where to get this from? Like, do we have to load up these directories? Is that something I missed in the docs? Oh, do I actually want this one, FactoryBot Rails? Right, that's different. Right, okay. I actually might want a different one. And also, I also want to test as well. Right, I've done a bunch of stuff wrong there. That's okay. That's okay. It's Sunday morning. We can forgive ourselves. So let's go and find a gem file. That doesn't need to live there. Here. There. Okay, cool. So now we have that. So now can we run that test? Yes, great. Perfect. Okay, so password can't be blank. Cool. So that's what we thought. And we can go back to our factory. We're just going to work this through. So that's because these validations, that they weren't, they're not ours. We can't with it like they were on device. So we can add a password, and we can just add like a cool long password for this user. Give that another try. Great, now we have that. And so then we can add a trait for them. And then we can use that trait in, I'm gonna close some of these things down. Use that trait instead of the attribute. So we want a confirmed user, and then we've got them there. So this should still pass, hopefully. Great, okay. Got a user. And let's do an organization while we're here. So we can grab all of this stuff. Rid of it to here. We want organization. I have no idea what an organization has. Let's go take a look at validate presence of name. This can be a sequence as well, actually. Oh, do we want that? I think you'd probably want to. They're not. No, because they're not unique. So presumably, like, email address has to be unique. So therefore, you only want to put sequences on anything that like has to be unique. I'm assuming. So organization name is organization. Doesn't actually matter what the name is. Let's put dummy rather than test. Because you then like people's naming strategies in factories is always kind of interesting. Like, does that? It doesn't matter. I haven't got. We don't care about that right now. Okay, so that's fine. Then, so it only cares about name. In here, we can have. Okay, so if I am going to make that explicit, why don't I have like a keyboard shortcut or a one of those little snippets that helps me write it if I do have to write it all the time? Why don't I have something that helps me do that faster? So if you've got this far already, you're not sure why you would use FactoryBot create number of arguments. Oh, organization. I need to tell it what kind of factory to actually create. It's like, why use factories rather than just do what we were doing? So FactoryBot is a wrapper around those models as I understand it. So it means that you're not having to define everything from scratch every time. And I think fixtures take a different approach to that. You define them all in one place, and then they get run as a insert at the start of each test. But I believe my memory of this is that fixtures aren't using. Is this right? Fixtures not using the active record models. They're basically just running straight as an SQL query to keep the speed up. And therefore, if there is an issue in the like in the integrity of the data that's managed in Rails but not managed in the database, the fixture would get created and that, but not be. You could create invalid data for your app. And you have to catch that separately. Whereas Rails, what FactoryBot is doing is actually using the model themselves to create themselves. So it's slower, but you get the upside of moving further up the stack, down the stack, depends on how you're imagining your stack, I guess. And I think my understanding is that kind of the mini test fixtures route does leave you with a faster test suite at the end of the day. And there are just trade-offs around that. That's my understanding of that. I may be way off because, like I said, I haven't delved into the mini test fixtures route. So if people are mini test fixture advocates, I would love to kind of dive into that. I think I want to spend some time on it, which I haven't ever really done. So we're going to come back to this because I want to find out if this is what we should be doing here. And then organization membership. So that's the model. Let's do more factories. Organization membership. And this would then be, this is another kind of handy thing that I think you can do with factories from memory is like basically just define the name of an association and it will automatically create one for you when it's building this this. So I think we could close these off. Sorry, I'm just closing some things down to make this more readable. And here, so this could then become this. You can then, but you can still pass in your associations to a factory if you want to use one that's already been created. But I think we could do that the other way around. I think we could create this and then get the user and the organization from it. So we could say, let's make the organization membership. That would automatically do everything for this test. So let's see what that would look like. It would basically look like this one. Font size and close that up. So organization membership. That would go, well, then organization would then become organization membership dot organization and user, because this would already been created, would become, well, actually, let me leave that one there and we'll just organization membership dot user. So remember, when this gets created here right at the start, it's going to, you then don't need this. Because it's going to, because of that, because these associations exist in the factory, it's going to build them, it's going to create them for you when you call this create. It's going to create its associations as well. So you then already have the organization by the time you get anywhere into the test, because the bang method here will mean it's done first. Then you'll have the organization and the user. So then the lets can just be references to that that's already been created. So I think, oh, I wonder, I should lift that stupid focus in here. I wonder if it's been failing the whole time. Stupid. Okay, does that, I'm just going to check that does that fail because of what, I just removing the focus or the change I just made? The change. Okay, I think the focus can go. Cool. So something has broken. All right, what broke there? Because I'm not sure we actually need to finish that, so I don't know if it's worth. Now I'm only fixing this because I'm curious, because we could just roll it back because it was working before. Let's actually go and look at that policy. Organization membership where, so we can just put actually, and then I want to put that focus back. So I just want to see if that record is being created. Is that what's going wrong? Oh no, we're not hitting it. Because we're not signing the user in anymore? No. Okay, so we're not. So now I'm mentally trying to go back up the stack and work out like I just chuck in some puts to see where we're actually getting to. So do we, okay, so we're in that test correctly. We do call the index action and we do get removed. Okay, so in here in index, everything's on the base controller, which we did last week. Okay, so let's see which one of these we get to. Do we get to these? And you're like, I do have a keyboard shortcut for chucking something out in the console, because that is a thing I do a million times a day. I'm just like, hey, does the code path hit here? And I don't want to like chuck in a prior or anything, so probably quicker to just rerun the test. So there you can see we don't have any, so we're failing here. And the reason we know we're failing here is that we would see this, there's nothing meaningful about this output. It's just visually I could see it in the console. Okay, so which means, and because these are executed in order, we're not hitting here or here because we would get the first line, which means we're failing here, which means that in the test, we're not doing this. And is it because this isn't being set? Do we have a user at that point? Is it the wrong? Let's just put the bang in there and see if that works. Take that off. No, okay. And let's put the pry in here. Just check that this is being hit. Well, this is kind of, I mean, this isn't relevant to what we're doing, but like, why do we not? Oh, is this the one where we didn't have this and I had to use this last week and I don't know how to use it? Yes. So what is user? Do we have a user? It's the only user. And does the user have... It has an organization membership, and it has the organization membership for the correct organization. Okay, everything feels fine. But sign-in user is failing. Something is definitely going wrong. And now I don't know what we would actually expect to see from that method. No, okay. There's no such thing as current user because we're not actually in the controller. Okay, so we think that is happening. You're being signed in. Expect a response. And because you're signed in, we would expect it to just work. But we think you're not making it through there. And before we were creating the membership here. Oh, if anything, I would expect this one to fail. That one you should be getting redirected. So this should be hit in here. Yeah, actually that wouldn't then work because you would, this only works for this test. So this is actually a really bad way to structure it. Because on the other one, you need a user without an organization membership, so that we won't do this. But now I'm interested as to why that fails. Am I? Fuck it, let's just back out of it because it's a bad idea anyway. I have no idea how to get out of bug. Okay, fine. Wait, no, they passed? What the fuck just happened? What? Oh God, this isn't what we're trying to do. What's happening here? Oh, Finian, in the chat. Does the user need to be confirmed? Oh, Finian, the user needs to be confirmed. Wait, the user was confirmed, wasn't he? Oh, the user needs to be confirmed because now we're doing it through the association. Amazing. Finian, go to bed. Amazing. I appreciate you in the chat. I just, I forget that people stay up late to watch this. How's it going, by the way? Did you get my email? I said, people who watch the stream, I said the other week, I owe you an email and I sent one. Right, that doesn't matter because we're going to back out of this. That was just purely an academic exercise for no Sound and fury signifying nothing. So let's go back a few steps but the logic is sound. The user would need to be organized, so we could create the user and pass him in as confirmed. And then we could still do it this way, I guess. We could do here we could do FactoryBot confirmed, which is Finian's spot. There, then we could do this, and here we could. No, because you still need organization up here for the path. Fine. Okay, we were right the first time. Fine. So why was I doing all of that? The reason I was doing all of that is because the setup ties us to this. I think I took 3 months to reply to your previous email, so just checking it was in an inbox somewhere. I moved my email addresses recently to some new domains, and because no emails have ever gone for them before, people I've emailed for years now my emails go to spam, which is really frustrating. Although I don't know how many people are really are desperate to read my emails. Probably not that many. Yeah, so the setup on this test were the organization membership is the crux of this at the moment, but if that's up for grabs, you might want to think about it during the setup of the test. So you could put it. I'm not sure what I'm articulating. I think it's something that's not very specific, but if I thought the next few commits we were going to switch to a different one, I would try and impact the rest of the tests in a minimal way to affect the factories, but that's not the case in this scenario. So let's do what this was doing. So we were just having an organization, using the organization. Actually, I don't think we need that let because we're always using it here. I'm not sure if we need that bang or not. As an admin, then we sign in the user and create these. These aren't in any specific order. I don't think it matters. That's an interesting one. Like that. Oh no, because you then specify the path. This is the same. Why did we need the bang here? Can't remember why we needed those bangs, but I'm about to find out because these will fail if we need them. Okay, still got some junk lying around. Okay, great. Now we have factories. Helpful. So you can make your traits super helpful. You can abstract away loads of setup into traits sometimes, especially for lots of cross-model stuff. There's a lot of risk in that. If you're doing loads of setup, so here doing an organization membership, you might want to make it explicit in the test how much setup is involved in that, because it might indicate, hey, they're is this the best mechanism for this? If it's something fundamental that you don't think you can change long term, then maybe you have a couple of traits that abstract things away. But yeah, it's you can really pack a lot into those factories because they're basically wrappers around your model, so you could do loads of work in there. But you then end up using that trait everywhere, and the performance hit over a larger and larger code base using that complex setup every time. You might have a bit of setup that's touching multiple database tables and doing queries in and out and things like that, and you're just putting one trait on a factory. So you're like, hey, just chuck it in, and you can get bitten. So even setting this explicitly, we could put has org membership or something. I actually don't know the best way we would do this, but then we could have user dot organization memberships dot first dot organization, and then that could be how we get the organization. Like that's totally a that would be a thing. That would be a comma. That's totally a doable thing. So that could go and build all of those for us, and we would then just need to go and set those because they've already been created. Yeah, how much you abstract away is up to you, but it is not free. Those trade-offs of abstractions are not free in the long term. All right, cool. Let's get this moved on. Okay, because what we really want to do is talk about events. And I want to go and clear out that other junk from what I assume is the folder somewhere. Get these committed. Yeah. No. Can't see what these do. I thought I put these in. Oh, I put them in the base controller. Sorry, I thought I put them in the. Oh, everything's in the base controller. Yeah, okay. That can go. And that can go. Okay, fine. Let's get some of this. So, factories committed. 1, 2, 3. Oh, no. Let's do our gem first. Had I already added a... Yeah, let's just... re-add gem. Fine. Just because we've already added it and then I've messed it up, so just moved it into where we need it. Factory, factory, factory. Nothing really in here particularly with the user stuff. I don't really think needs a huge amount of explaining. Not a lot to say there. I don't think I would look at that in the future and think what's going on here or question it and think I'd be like, oh, yeah, fine. Right, what's left? Space controller, organization policy, and the test. These all go together. Well, that will be is the initial test for this in this thing. Yeah, in a whip. Okay. But these can all go together with that whip, I think. So add initial access control for admin events controller. Oh, actually, everything in here was pretty relevant, wasn't it? One we had before, which is like we're doing things the wrong way around. And that all gets squashed into one commit. That's the... No, okay, so that's just adding everything initial with nothing in it. Now we are actually specifying in a different commit that we want. So we want to say that we want to say this is an early early and initial. And by initial, I usually use initial as a synonym for like wrong. that's like, or like first run. This is an early initial, which are redundant, but I think I want to emphasize how early this is. Implementation of access control for the admin namespace. I think that's the right wording. So now we're checking for the presence of an membership record on the assumption that being a member of an organization allows you to administrate everything for that organization. So unlikely to be case long term. Like I think years ago, because this is like a rough project that we're working on for the stream, and like I don't think I would ever have thought to write that much in my commit message, even for just like something simple, anything like that. Now now I go the other way. I get nervous when I don't write anything in the commit messages, because that's now the thing that I spend the most of my time like wishing. Is like, oh, I just wish someone wrote something down. And it's always years ago. It's never like 6 months ago, because you can probably go and like ask the actual person and they might remember. And it's always like 4 years ago. You're just like, why were you doing this? Because this never got updated. And you're like, oh, well, this will be updated in 6 weeks or a year or whatever. Like, and it never is. And then you're like, oh, just why didn't you just write something down? Please. I'm doing the wrong thing. I think that might be a glimpse into my psychology when I'm reading other people's code. It's like, just tell me what went on. And the thing is, there's that kind of confidence that comes in like, oh, well, it doesn't really matter what they thought. Like, I can only go in what I know now. And that's not always the case. What do I mean by that? Like, sometimes you get asked questions about a code base, and they're like, so you inherit a bit of a code base, and then someone asks you a question about it, like someone who's not like someone who's just using a feature or something like that, and they're like, hey, can you tell me why this thing happens? And if you're going into to build something new, your worry about why things are the way they are is slightly less important, because you're going to change them, and so you need to have a good handle on why they are the way they are. But in reality, there's going to be a new state when you leave anyway, so you can probably go in with a bit more confidence of like, well, as long as I get my head around how it works, we're going to change it. So why it works the way it works is going to change anyway. When you are simply asked the question of why does it do it this way, if no one writes that down, you're generally guessing, and you have to kind of go back to the other person and be like, hey, I've read the code and it does this. And they're like, why? And you're like, well, I don't know, based on a bunch of stuff I've inferred this. And it's so helpful sometimes, like genuinely, like we were been talking about having, I think it'd be really useful to get a product manager on here, but like, I have genuinely been able to copy bits of commit messages out and been like, hey, this was why this was done at the time. And then you can ask, like, genuinely, this happened to me like within the last few weeks. I was like, here's a bit of a commit message from N years ago. Is this thinking still correct? And it just makes everything so much easier, because you're like, that was the thinking at the time. Is the thinking still correct? And you're not having to worry about like, hey, I think this is where we started from, and this is like what I think is now happening. You're just like, this was the case. Is it the case now? And if not, we can go and change it, and we can do other things. And it's so unbelievably helpful from code that you'd think, even in that case, you would think that code would have changed within 6 months, because it was just like, well, maybe not in that specific case, but like I am surprised it has lasted as long as it has, considering how many things have changed around it, and it just never did. So you're like, oh, well, we'll just put the access control for this application on organization membership. That can't be the case for, surely it can't be the case for long, that anyone with an organization membership can administrate anything to do with an organization. And then you're working on the application 2 years later and you're like, oh, wait, what? And that's probably a really bad example, but whatever. Right, let's get into events. Let's do what we came here to do. And the first thing we came here to do is to see if we have any users in our development data. So what we came here to do is work on the events model, because that's the thing. That's like how we represent events in an application where events are the thing we care about. Then that's it. So I'm gonna, can I just sign up in the actual, can I sign up as an app, as a person in the Word? So let's be test at example.com, and we'll put a password in. Great, we're gonna take it back there. So user.count is now 1. So we can do, is confirm bang a method? Because that would be helpful. Confirm is, okay, great. So now that user's confirmed. So now I think I can sign in as that user. Users sign in. And I am test at example.com. And I can put this in. Oh, I really want to turn that off for this browser. I want to leave the manage extension. Oh my God. I just want to turn off the bit where it puts it in the actual UI. How do I do that? Oh my God. No, do I just leave it for now because this is, I'm going to go into a note. Oh, great. Okay, cool. So I got redirected to the right place, and it can't do the check because we're not actually passing that through as a param, which we can now do. Let's go. We'll just fake it for now. So we can do organization.create name test org. Let's just do create bang so that we know if it fails. Nope, we now have test org, and we can then chuck this param in. We're just spoofing everything, doesn't matter. It's organization identity 1. And not that too. So right, let's go and find Notion. Right, so this is it. We're going to get some things that we want to do. Back to Notion, into our planning, and add some more stuff in here. Redirect users when they receive Pundit auth errors. That's something that we want to do, and we can solve that problem right now by making an organization membership with a user that is user.first because we only have 1, and an organization that is organization.first because we only have 1. Organization.first, and that's been created. So now we should be able to go back here. Ta-da! And there is the word event under, but it's underneath our little test thing there. Great. So we're in. We've done it. We've accessed our events admin controller and everything has worked. We want to see a list of events. Admin events controller. And that is, it's obviously not that, but that's basically what we want to do. No, it would be organization.events.something. And again, it wouldn't be all, but you get the gist. We're just trying to say that that's what we want to show a bunch of things here that are events. So what is an event in an event registration application? Did we get any of this here? Right, we did touch on this when we did, let me bump this font size up, like this bit. So we did, still keep going. Okay, so we did loads of this stuff when we were playing around with the prototype app. And it was all good stuff. And I think I agree with the general gist, which was that we could genericize the purchasing of a ticket really, really far, but the complexities that come with that are they're real. And if you actually say, well, when you're booking a ticket, you're actually not in a flow where you can then do 10 other things at the same time. You do sort of start to limit your complexity. So there's a reason you can't. Well, it's not a reason because they could do it, but like when you're in Eventbrite, they don't kind of treat it like a Shopify checkout necessarily. They treat it more as a single flow. Like you're booking a ticket, that's it. That's all you're doing. You're not like doing 10 other things. So we looked at all of that. And the thing that allowed us to actually brush over was the thing that you are purchasing, a ticket. So, no, sorry, we cared about the ticket. We didn't care about the actual event. I don't even think we built one in the little mini prototyping app, because it was always about the attendee record, which is sort of like a ticket. And then that had a ticket type, whereas we never bothered to build the association. They're all associated with an event. Why is modeling out an event complicated? Well, let's take a look at what we mean by that. So can we do another page in here? Love Notion for stuff like this. Let's do no, it doesn't let you do that. Okay, fine. Planning the model event. Can you not even put them in as actual? No, you can't put this backticks in. Okay. No, event model, not model event. Event model. Right. I got so overwhelmed with backticks. What is an event when you need to book tickets to it? What do you need to know? You need to know when it is. Like that's fundamental. And that, okay, let's say that that's pretty straightforward. So you might have, can we just have code block actually? I love Notion so much. I don't get to work in Notion enough. I spend a lot of my working stuff in Trello, which is like, I actually really like Trello a lot, but it's just visually so not what my eyes want to see. Right, planning the event model. Right, so let's say that we had like starts on, and I don't need that if I'm on this. Okay, so starts on, or starts at, and ends at. Okay, let's do some. Okay, I do love it, but it's not always helpful. Okay, let's make these. Oh, I thought it was going to color those. Okay, that'll do. You want to know where it is. Let's not worry about how we do that. Let's just put location. You want to know when is it? Where is it? You want to know what it's called. Is it called? Name rather than title. And you want to know what is it? Like what do I care? Why do I care that this thing exists? So like description. I'm not going into details, please. So let's go and take a look because I always miss something really obvious. So we did a bunch of comparison stuff. Event create. Let's go and look at a standard Eventbrite event. Are we still logged in on this? Because that would be really helpful. I just want... They had like 9 things because they were like, what is it? Is also had other stuff. So what is it? Who runs it? Yeah, okay, fine. Where is it? When is it? That's basically it for page 1. I think this is the page after which you get a URL. So manage my events. I'm coming back to that list, by the way, so don't... yeah, don't those aren't the attributes I'm actually suggesting. So then details is about it, about the event. Fine. Tickets published. So basic info is all we really care about. What's it called? About it. Fine. Where is it? When is it? Cool. Okay. So even here, we can start to see like the simplest amount of complexity, single versus recurring. If you remember, there was like a collection, when we first started this out, there was like a collection of verses. It was like single versus recurring, but then you had single day versus multi-day. So let's say that there is one event, and this event starts on, this one has the 9th of the 10th, but then it goes through to the, well, let's say it goes Friday the 10th. Okay, that's not happening. Oh, is it because it's the, why can't I? Oh, okay, because this is in the past. Right, okay, so let's say it's Friday the 15th to Sunday the 17th. So that is one event over 3 days. And if I want to sell tickets to Friday, then Saturday, and then Sunday separately, I can either set up one event that spans 3 days with 3 ticket types, or I could set up 3 different events depending on what is happening. And so the simple description of when is it, just by having one large event, is immediately not as simple as it sounds. And we could, what we looked at in the previous streams when we were looking at those competitors and doing the prototyping research was how the purchasing process was affected by that complexity. But even the admin feature, which is now what we're looking at, which is like how we're going to compose these events, is also affected by that. And we need to make a call on how we're going to do that. And I think the general thing we're going to do is do the simplest thing so that we can get this shipped. That's what we're trying to do in this iteration. And I think it's worth looking at now how we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot for that. So we've got, this is pretty much the simplest implementation, which is a single starts at time and date, a single ends at time and date. And what that buys you is a pretty straightforward set of logic. Like, is the event happening? Is it past or future? Is it overlapping with other events? And if it's like you get, is it a multi-day event? Like you can know whether this is within, like if the date is different, basically it's a multi-day event. If it's the same, it's a single day event, no matter what the time is, I guess. And you're passing on the complexity. So we've got a 3-day event that we only want one listing for. We could then say, well, you have to have a ticket type, which is day, like Thursday ticket, a Friday ticket, or a Saturday ticket. But let's say there are 10 types of Thursday tickets and 10 types of Friday tickets and 10 types of Saturday tickets. Or when you then go to buy your tickets for this event, all of that complexity has been passed on to the attendee and the booker. Whereas I think when we looked at event create, we had, oh no, it might have been like, I can't remember which one it was. It was one of the many that we looked at. They had multiple, I think they called them sessions. And then you could put different dates within the event as well. And I think we're not going to, just realistically for time, we're not going to have time to go down that route. But I wonder what it would look like to try and do that after you have shipped this simple idea of an event having a start date and an end date. This gets you out of the blocks as an organizer super quick. When is it? It's Thursday through Sunday. Go. And you get that URL for your event. You can start emailing the organizer like, hey, you're nearly there. It's great. And you can pass everything else on. So that then we Googled this. So like when they have that simpler, so Eventbrite multi-day event. Let's just see what their docs say. Single event, multiple dates of time. I'm pretty sure they just say put it in the ticket type. I think this is purple. We've looked at this actually on this stream. Choose location, select date and time, set up your event details, go to tickets, add ticket. Set up a ticket for each date or time your event occurs. So that's basically their pitch is like, if you have a 2-day event, your first ticket may be called general admission Friday, general admission Saturday. If you want to sell a single ticket for all days, you can set up general admission Friday and Saturday. Yeah, there is nothing in Eventbrite that is breaking down that overarching event into kind of like, I think a conference could be a good way of thinking about this, like, because this gets even more complicated when you end up with multi-day, multi-location events. So that location could be 2 physical different places, but it could also be like Hall A and Hall B, both of which have separate tickets. And this goes back to the thing we discussed before around like why are there so many fucking events apps? Some of which focus like literally on just one type of event, like a conference ticketing app is a real thing. As you can't just, well, you can use Eventbrite, but you're having to reverse engineer all of the complexity. So if our focus is group events, does the simplest model, can we get away with just shipping that? So what are we talking about? We're talking about sporting events. We're talking more like the active.com model potentially. And they asked like 15,000 types of questions, but I think they only had start date and end date. So we have an active.com account. And this isn't like Rails specific or anything, but this is the bit like just, I know we keep even going over it, but I think this is my favorite bit of like all the projects, and I don't get to do any of this stuff a lot because you're just so often working on something that already exists. No, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to click my events. And like it's just like a blank sheet of paper and nothing but hope and optimism about how things are going to go. And then it's all downhill from there. Claim registration, no events to display. Wait, I had events. I made them. Oh, is this events? Oh, I see. Yeah. So this is right. They have event organizers as a whole different app, which again is like such an interesting choice. Like I've gone into my account and I've gone into my events, and the events that I'm organizing are not there. I have to notice there's another button, and I go to this other app for which I have the same account, I think. Yes, I think I'm already signed in because it's the same account. Yep. But it's a different app altogether. This one is endurance.active.com and this one is active.com. And again, they active pass everything onto the user. All of the complexity is passed to the user. So how do they do theirs? Can't remember. Event set up, event details. This is one of my favorite. Right, so event date and time is a start and an end. Yep, so there is multi-day, but there is no breakdown within that. And then you have to registration categories, self-registration team setup. Yeah, this one is just right, okay. Yeah, this one got real complex real quick. So, right, I think this one then specified a date on the ticket type. Oh, is that date that it's purchasable? No, that's this date. I wonder if that's just an attribute on that ticket type, because these are registration categories. As far as I understand it, are basically the equivalent of ticket type in Eventbrite, and that could be one way that we back ourselves into this. So an event is simply a wrapper model around everything underneath it, and all of the complexity is pushed down. So, but here we're actually able to specify the date and location for the ticket type. But in Eventbrite, all it says is you just put the name of the day like in the title of the ticket type. There's nothing actually clever about it. Whereas here, I would assume from this that the date and location being added to the ticket type means something, and that it is obvious from the purchasing page that that's the case, I would assume. But that's a pretty good way of. I think we would still. I never finish a sentence when I'm thinking this stuff through, but I think we would still bump into the complexity of introducing it later. So let's say we go with the simplest model and we ask for a start date, starts at and ends at. We implement ticket type in the same way that Eventbrite does, which is like just give it a name. You then introduce date and location to ticket type. You have to make them optional because you already have events in flight that don't have them. And I'm not 100% sure what they do. Are they just indicative to the attendee? If they are, that's just fine. It's just that then they don't have to write them in. And you could even specify that you can't put in dates and location or dates and times outside of the scoping event. Okay, I think that kind of answers all my curiosity around that stuff. I think if we implement the simplest version, which is starts at and ends at, with a time zone. Oh, where's Notion gone? With a time zone and then time zone and all of that fun stuff, then I think that's fine. So where is it? This one was interesting. We looked at that one. A bunch of them are using Google's fancy thing, where you type in an address and get stuff back. I think that you potentially want to allow them to type it in, look at the Google map, and then let them set a point. I think all of that was free. I think typing in and having the address autocomplete was like you get 10,000 a day free, and then you have to start paying. So you could just do like let them type in any given address, pass that to the Google map, which again is free to show. And then they could be like, hey, that's not correct. And then you could give them the feature to drop a pinpoint, and then you could just use the lat long. So you could always show, this could be like location, like user entered or something like that, like to indicate that it's actually just a string that they're typing in. And then a lat long that they're picking, and then you could have like location automated or something like that. When you have one of those look aheads, or you're getting back the actual like a location from Google or something like that. Okay, that's all super good as well. But then you've also got this idea of events not actually being physically in the world. So you need this idea of you could have like attendance type or something like that. I don't really want to put event type because I don't think that's correct. I think it would be like event. And what I mean by this is like physical, virtual, etc. Because this then sets your where, because where could also be like a online location or something like that, and that's just a Zoom call or whatever. You could have a bunch of these for virtual events. You could have online location URL. You could have online location call URL. I just maybe calls about like what do you call those like I guess the calls, like it's a Zoom call, it's a Google Meet call. was like hop-in and things like that. What are they called? Calls? Webinar? Web thing? I don't know. You figure out a better word than call. So these are all basically just things that are dependent on that, but they're just storing bits of information and showing them, so that was fair enough. That's again all just showing stuff and showing it. So that's the time and the location are both complex. The time needs the time zone as well, because you would store them in UTC and show them appropriately. And then you could have the viewing user could have a time zone on their account, and then you could show it in their local time zone. That'd be pretty helpful. All that easy, I say easy, annoyingly, frustratingly, not quite as easy as you want to do, but basically like handy stuff for the user. And this is all stuff that's not too difficult to do. So then to actually have a pretty functioning event application. And then all of the complexity goes back to that purchasing of the ticket and all the ticket types and all that fun stuff that we looked at before. But I think if we aim to ship it without the group functionality to begin with and then build that in, we could even like cut all of this stuff down. Like we just say, right, we only do online events to start with. So don't need a lat long, don't need a map, only do online events. Yeah, okay. And multi-location events. So again, location is working on this predicate that is either physical or virtual. If it's physical, okay, well, both of these, actually, I don't think it matters whether it's physical or virtual. Both of these are predicated on the idea that there is a location. And that's actually probably not the case. Like I said, conferences are probably a good example of that. Or let's say it's a online conference or an online event. Why would you not have multiple Zoom calls running at the same time that people could move between? So you might actually have an ad location, and this is actually an association called locations, and the location could then have a type. So the location could be add physical location, add virtual location. You could add multiple ones, and then the virtual locations presumably also might want to have times and dates on them. Again, you're start getting them more in the conference stuff. So these are all things I want to make a call on. I think to get our MVP up, I want the event to have a start and end date. I think we can just do virtual, because then we can just do tickets related to the Sunday Club basically, and we'll do like a virtual thing. But we could have multiple virtual locations. Like we could have an event where but then that one is tricky because of people then buying tickets to a different location. Okay, yeah. Maybe you could build everything. Maybe we could build everything under the hood as a has many, but then just limit it to one in the UI. So then if you did want multiple locations, so that's actually, I think, a pretty good idea. I'm not going to write this down. I'm going to watch this back when I need to remember what the specs are. Give it a name. The description, I kind of agree with what Eventbrite and that other fancy one that we're looking at, which is like basically just give the users a block editor. So they can just make the page their own and they can do whatever they want. And that could be kind of fun. Maybe we could get it out without that and just give this like we could make this just an action text box for now. But I think I really like block editors. I think, okay, as you can see by my love of Notion, they're just so flexible, and I have built one. So, and they're not crazy, especially if you can limit their scope. Okay, I think this gets us where we want to go. I'm probably going to come back and link to this part of the stream and other streams, because this is like the predicate of what we're building. This will be the event that we then ship. So maybe we aim to ship so that you can book to take part in like a meetup style thing or something like that. And we have a Sunday Club meetup where, I don't know, we limit the numbers. I say that like I don't think that's an issue, but like we have the feature where you can say you buy a ticket. Maybe we don't even have to deal with quantities. You just buy a ticket. You register as a user, buy a ticket, but we test the cap around capacity. And then we have like a little meetup where people can we can do a pairing session or something like that. We just need to sell 2 or 3 tickets to it. And then that can be our shipped version with events. And we can administrate that through the admin area. Oh, actually, that's going to get really annoying because there'll be real user data in production, which means I then can't stream production because it would become a GDPR issue to stream production. Huh. Man, that's annoying. Okay, well, that's fine. We don't ever need to stream production. We'll have like a review app or something like that for Heroku. Okay, that's super exciting. Also, this can then, we can write this up as a spec. And in our thing here, we can start to actually plan for that stuff. So what do we need for that? We need, I'm not really using this in any way properly, but like MVP list. The diligence I'm writing. Okay, so we need, and we'll do like a little, maybe we could do like user stories and stuff like that. So we need user can register for an account. Fine. Okay, we need admin can create an event. Admin can see list of attendees. This is just totally arbitrary stuff. Admin can administrate event. Putting everything under here. Admin can, I'm putting everything under administrate for now rather than publish. Okay, fine. So user can purchase, well, there's not a purchase because that involves money. The user can register for event. User gets confirmation email of registration. We can break these down. User gets confirmation of registration. Admin gets email of new registration. User gets reminder of event. Oh, this is so maybe we skip all emails actually for the, maybe those are all bad ideas. Yeah, maybe they're all bad ideas, not for MVP. User can register for event. User can update details. User can delete account. There's no way I'm getting into GDPR problems over a side, like a side project live streaming thing. So not only going to be able to delete your account, just let them get rid of all of their user data. I'm not getting into any of that stuff. User can see events for which they are registered. Public can see event listing. And we need this idea of public listing can, I need to be able to like turn the ticketing off. So public listing shows when tickets are, no, again, not tickets or purchase, when registrations are available. Great, so we've kind of jumped to like this one. So like admin can see list of events. So that's basically where we started arbitrarily, when in fact we probably, and we kind of have this one for free anyway through Devise. Whereas we probably could have gone from this one to this one, like about the user updating their details. We could have like fleshed out user accounts and stuff like that. And again, you're going to go live with deletions and things like that. But then that introduces some cool GDPR questions and things like that. If you're not familiar with GDPR, it's the EU-based data protection regulations. And if you work with any kind of EU company, you probably are very familiar with it because it is a thing that is basically the topic of everything. But the user is in control of their data and can request to delete it. But that's not a 100% all the time. If you need that data to perform the task which your app exists to serve, you can't delete something that's fundamental to the functioning of your application. There's also things like you don't have to delete the data if it's for like financial auditing and financial logging and things like that. So there's loads of fun edge cases. So for example, if you're registered for an event and it's in a week's time and you want to delete all your data, but you also want to go to the event, you can't do that. Like that, there's a conflict there. The app can't delete all of your personal data because the organizer needs to know who's coming to the event. And like there's a conflict. So you would have to be like, oh, well, great, we'll refund the ticket. And if you refund your own ticket, then you can delete your account. You're like, oh, well, I want to attend the event. So there is logic in the regulation, but let's say that you don't have an upcoming event, but you have purchased tickets in the past for 5 or 6 events. And then you're like, actually, I don't really want this app to have my data anymore. I'm going to get in touch with them and say, hey, I need you to remove me. Well, what happens then? Because you have organizers who may need to see that person's details for their own logs. So you can show like, removed user or some sort of dummy data on the screen. But what's actually still needed, there might be compliance stuff around that. So it introduces a whole fun world of technical complexity that you then have to handle, and compliance complexity, because you're like, well, what's the law and all that fun stuff. Users can see events which are registered, public see event listings. Cool. Okay, that's it. That's what we're going to build over the next, judging by how fast we move, 5 years. And that's it. So I'm going to wrap it. How long have we been going? An hour and a half. Okay, that's nice. I am going to go and see my family. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for people that have been getting in touch. And yeah, have a wonderful Sunday. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for Finian for dropping in the chat. And I will see you all next Sunday, at which point we will do one of the things from this list. We will, admin can create an event, I think is where we will get to. Let's do that. And then we will do admin can see list of events. And then we will do user can register for an event. Let's do it in that kind of order. Yeah, sort of. Okay, amazing. Have a wonderful week. See you all later. Goodbye.